So good evening, everybody again. Thank you one and all for logging into our webinar session. I'm Vinod Nayak, will be your host and moderator for this evening. Transcat People Solutions and Rotary Bangalore Sneha have planned a webinar series for the benefit of our professionals, and today we have the first of them. The first webinar is Retaining Employees is the Key Post COVID 19 Scenario. Now, during this COVID-19 scenario, each of us has gotten tech savvy and used different platforms for webinars, conferences, and etc. Today, we are hosting this session on a platform developed by the company called Anytime Learn. This platform is being developed as an extension of a learning application by Mr. Vinay and his team. This session is hosted by Transcat People Solutions Private Limited and Rotary Bangalore Sneha. Transcat is a consulting organization with rich consulting experience to help companies transform and bring progressive changes to strengthen them during these times. With strong emphasis on tools for psychometric testing, our diagnosis gives a lot of inputs to design and implement an effective engagement. These engagements are clubbed with the ROI of organizations and enabling us to be a part of an entire cycle. We are reachable on www.transcat.in. Rotary Bangalore Sneha is a part of Rotary International District 3190. Rotarian Dr. S. Nithalila is the current charter president. This club has been very active during these testing times of COVID 19. The president herself has volunteered on numerous occasions and distributed food and grocery supplies to laborers and needy people around few pockets of Bangalore South. Getting back to our today's webinar, this will be presented by Dr. Jessy Christin. Dr. Jessy has completed his PhD in organizational behavior and human resource management from Alliance University, diploma in training and development from ISTD, MTech in engineering management from Manipal Institute of Technology with first rank from the university, and graduated in instrumentation and control engineering from Government College of Technology, Coimbatore. You guys are in safe hands. Dr. Jessy has more than 28 years of industry experience across multiple sectors, and he is a prominent speaker in various forums. He is currently the Vice President HR and Operations at Conwait. Prior to this, he has held important HR leadership positions in organizations such as NTT Data, Philips, and a few more. Dr. Jessy has received various awards and recognitions across his illustrious career. He is also a distinguished Toastmaster by Toastmasters International USA. Without further ado, I shall hand over the controls to Dr. Jessy and look forward for a seamless session. All the participants here are currently on mute and will request all to remain so. The queries you have will be addressed at the end of the session. We have allocated sufficient time for this. Alternately, you can send us your queries on this platform on the chat bot, and these two will be addressed. Thanking you again, and over to Dr. Jessy.
Thank you, Vinod, for that nice introduction. I would like to sincerely thank Transcat and Rotary Bangalore Sneha for this wonderful opportunity given to me. So let's move on to the topic. Today's topics of discussion, I would like to classify them into two parts. First is to understand the various dynamics related to employee retention, and then to look at what are some of the likely scenarios post COVID-19 and how we are going to handle the situation of retaining employees. Under employee retention, I would like to cover the following subtopics, a few definitions from the literature. Why do people stay in an organization? I would like to call it as pull factors. Why do people leave? Push factors. How to identify the early warning signals. Employee retention as a process, where does it start? How do we identify and address the root cause of the push factors? Some discussions around.
Hi, Jessy, sorry to interrupt. There is, I think, an audio disturbance people are saying. So, yeah, I mean, I'm also facing the same. So,
okay, is it better now?
Yes. Sorry to interrupt.
No issues, yeah. Yeah, so there will be some discussion around exit interviews. Another very important and interesting topic we are going to discuss: why do people abscond? who owns the people tree, employee retention, who's responsible, what is the role of HR function in it, policy, process, and framework for employee retention. We will also look at the few case studies. I would like to introduce the concept of 100% employee retention. Finally, we will also take a look at some of the scenarios post COVID-19. So my entire presentation I will try to cover in about max in about 45 minutes time, and then I would be happy to take your questions. Okay, let's take a look at some of the definitions of employee retention as found in literature. It's a continuous process that begins with recruiting the right people. I think the key thing here is it starts with recruiting the right people. There is no point in recruiting people randomly and then somehow trying to train them, develop them, retain them. It may or may not work. Another aspect of employee retention is the process of taking the right measures to encourage employees to remain in the organization for the maximum period of time that will benefit the organization as well as the employees. Here, the second part is very important. It's not about retaining for the sake of retaining. The relationship should be mutually beneficial for both the parties, for the organization and the employees. Another definition is the ability to hold on to those employees you would like to keep longer than your competitors can do. Well, there are several other definitions. These are some aspects which I had looked at as part of my research program. My PhD itself was on employee retention. Okay, let's take a look at some of the pull factors. Why do people stay in an organization? There are several theories related to employee motivation and employee retention. Let's look at the theory which is defined by Herzberg. It's called two-factor theory. It talks about broadly two factors: motivation factors and hygiene factors. In my PhD work, I looked at the employee retention in the SME sector. By definition, SMEs are companies which have got less than 250 employees. That is the definition I had used for my study. So I was able to prove there are 6 motivation factors proposed by Herzberg and 10 factors under hygiene factors. The 6 plus 10, 16 are actually directly responsible for employee retention. So I felt it is important to take a look at them. Okay, so pull factors, let's start with motivation factors. Recognition. All of us know in any organization, we feel that for the good work we have done, we should be recognized. Advancement. There should be an opportunity to grow in the company where we work. Nobody wants to start as a trainee and retire as a trainee. Even an individual contributor would like to grow as an expert or a thought leader in their function, if not getting into the people management side. Responsibility is the organization helping an employee to get the sense of accomplishment. Achievement, the organization should support an employee to achieve the goals both individually and as a group. Personal growth. Is the company where I'm working helping me to become a better person? Are they helping me to acquire new skills? This is going beyond the... Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can go ahead.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Sure, okay. The last one in motivation factors is the job content or the work itself. We come across cases where sometimes we feel so-and-so is an overqualified candidate for the job. So it is very important to ensure that each person is put into a role as per the skill and the competency of the individual. These are the 6 motivation factors which directly contribute to employee retention. Now let's look at the 10 hygiene factors. Company policy and administration, the organization should have a good laid out policy. Technical supervision. My supervisor's ability to direct me. Is my supervisor competent enough to guide me? Interpersonal relations with the subordinates. If I am a team lead or a manager, am I in a position to maintain good rapport with my team members? Now, this is very applicable in a situation. Let's say there is a small company of 40 employees. All the 40 employees are reporting directly to the CEO or to the business owner. I am sure we come across many organizations like that. It can be because of micromanagement, or the owner doesn't trust the middle levels of management, the team leads, managers. So in such a scenario, what will happen is the person could be having the title of a manager or a director or a team lead. However, all the employees know that they all report to the owner of the company. In such a situation, though I could be a manager or I could be a senior person in the company, the relationship with my team members sometimes can become very weak because of the structure. Salary should be comparable to the market standards. Job security, personal life. Do we have sufficient work-life balance? Working conditions, status, position in the company, and respect from others. Now, sometimes when we speak to our friends, right? So sometimes they say, yeah, it's okay, I'm doing fine, but somewhere I feel I'm not respected. I don't command that respect in the organization, either due to internal issues or due to the wrong structuring in the organization. So that would be one trigger. If not addressed, the person may want to leave. Interpersonal relations with the supervisors and with the peer group. So broadly, these are the 6 motivation factors and 10 hygiene factors which directly contribute to employee retention. Now let's quickly look at the push factors. Why do people leave an organization? Actually, it is all these 16 factors if they are not present in a company. No recognition, no opportunity to grow, no delegation of responsibilities, no sense of achievement, no scope for personal growth, very poor job content, high work pressure, not enjoying the job at all, unemployee-friendly HR policies. We will come across organizations where every single policy is only favorable to the employer, be it notice period, be it working hours, be it reporting structure, Poor leadership skills of supervisor, micromanagement, I already talked about. In some organizations, they have this problem, always finding fault approach. Now, these are all things which will really trigger an employee to look for another job. Poor interpersonal relations with subordinates, low salary when compared to the market, no job security, a person can be asked to leave anytime without giving any proper explanation, no work-life balance, expecting the employee to work for 12 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours, not allowing the person to balance with the family life, poor working conditions. For example, in an organization, the AC is there, but sometimes or many times it is switched off just to save cost. At the same time, maybe there is no ventilation. Safety issues, there could be negativity, poor status, this I already explained. Sometimes some people occupy dummy positions, which means the title could be fancy, but there is no respect in the organization. Poor interpersonal relations with the supervisors and poor interpersonal relations with peers. So, whatever I initially talked about motivation factors and hygiene factors, if they are implemented properly in any organization, we can retain people. If any of these 16 parameters, there could be someone who may want to leave the job because of 2 out of 16 or 3 out of 16 or 5 out of 16, or it could be just only one. For that employee, that is the main issue. If that concern is not addressed, that would remain the push factor for that employee. Let's look at how do we identify the early warning signals. An employee who is working well so far, let's take an example of a person who has been working in the company for, let's say, last 3 years. The person suddenly starts losing interest in the job. This is a signal. So it is important for the immediate supervisor or the business unit HR person to try and understand how it has happened. The same person will start to take leaves randomly. Maybe the person has a very good track record earlier, but suddenly taking leaves randomly, there is some issue. The person starts coming late to office, who was earlier prompt and coming on time. The same way, leaving early from office, taking less responsibilities. Okay, this is a very, very easily identifiable trigger. Suddenly goes around checking with HR or with colleagues about the notice period, about the buyout options, etc. Then there is something the person has already decided to leave or trying to understand how soon I can leave. Asking HR for pay slips, salary proof letters. This happens typically when you have an offer in another organization or they are about to release the offer and they want to confirm your current salary as per the pay slip. So these are all very, very specific triggers. Suddenly start speaking bad about the organization to the peer group. Let's assume that till then it was pretty smooth. Speaking about long distance, commuting time, traffic jams. Let's say that this person has been traveling for 1 hour from home to the office. Same, the 1 hour distance or the 1 hour commuting time has been the same for the last 3 years. Nothing has changed. But suddenly for this person, these things become an issue. It just shows that the person has lost interest. And the traffic jams. Traffic jams have been the same, maybe for the last 2 years, 3 years. I think these are all very, very easily identifiable early warning signals. What I'm trying to say is, Nobody leaves an organization overnight. People have sufficient triggers. Maybe they have tried, it's not working. Plus they start giving some signals. Okay, let's look at employee retention. Where does it start? It starts right from the time a candidate applies for a job in the organization. Sorry. So that's where the recruitment teams come into the picture. The recruitment function has to do an appropriate branding about the organization, ensure that the HR policies and the job description, everything is clearly explained to the candidate at the time of joining. Okay, so it starts right from the time a candidate applies for a job. So let's try to understand. That's where it starts. It doesn't start after the person has joined and post completion of the initial training. Another interesting thing, important one, it doesn't start after the employee submits the resignation. Unfortunately, in many organizations, people think, okay, so-and-so in my team has submitted the resignation, let me have a chat with the person. Actually, it is too late. Retaining an employee is an ongoing daily activity. It is not a one-time act. I have done something today. This effect will remain for the next 3 months or 6 months. Unfortunately, no. It's an ongoing daily activity. An employee who is asking a lot of questions, raising a lot of issues or concerns. In most of the organizations, in most of the cases, we should realize the person is trying hard to stay back in the organization, not to leave. It's same like in the school. Some teachers, if some students are asking a lot of questions, some teachers will think, okay, here is a child who creates a lot of trouble, a lot of problems. In reality, if the teacher is extremely good in the subject, those teachers like these students. In the same way, if as an employee I have some concerns, I have some issues, I need to speak about it because I am trying to rectify this so that I can continue to work in the organization. I am not planning to leave. Sometimes we misunderstand and think, okay, this is a problematic employee. I'm sorry, it is not so. When issues after issues don't get addressed for the employee, that is the time the employee decides to leave. Let's quickly look at how do we identify and address the root cause of the push factors. As I indicated earlier, an employee takes the decision to leave an organization after having tried to stay in the organization. Very rarely people take a decision to leave without giving any signals or without trying to address some issue. Okay, this is a very important thing. Nobody joins the company to leave. Whether it is a job which is giving 5,000 rupees salary or 10,000 rupees salary per month or 50,000 or 1 lakh or 2 lakhs, doesn't matter. Every candidate puts phenomenal efforts to get a job. Having got the job, you should understand that person is really trying hard to stay in the job. Nobody joins to leave. Now, what really happens? Such an employee may have had challenges with one or more push factors, which we have already discussed. So these are the push factors I talked about. Those 16 parameters, if one is not existing or two not existing or 3 or 4 or 5, depends for each individual. Okay, now this is an important point I would like to emphasize. It's very important to identify and address the root cause which triggers an employee to update his or her resume to look for another job. I am sure some of us have changed jobs, maybe 2 jobs, 3 jobs in the past. In many situations, we don't keep a ready-made resume all the time. If you are working in a company for the last 3 years, 4 years, if things are going good, right, then all of a sudden something goes wrong and you decide to look for a change. Then when a consultant calls you or a friend says, I have a referral program happening in my company, I can refer you in my organization, the normal response is, give me some time, I need to update my resume. I think it is very important to address the employee retention at this stage. A very good business unit HR person or a very good people sensitive team lead or a manager or a director, whoever is having people management responsibility, should ensure that your team members don't reach the stage to update his or her resume. Moment you allow that to happen, the logical next step is, okay, I have updated my resume. Let me post my job on the job sites, or let me share it with a few consultants, or let me share it with my friends, because I have already updated my resume. So this is, I think, if we are really bothered about retaining people, we should keep this concept in our mind very clearly. Never ever allow an employee to update the resume, because that is a starting point. Then it is difficult to stop. Okay, let's quickly look at some aspects of exit interviewing. In most exit interviews, we all know, employees provide politically correct answer. Okay, because the person has tried hard to stay back. Unfortunately, some of his or her concerns have not been addressed by the organization. Applied for a job, got a job, maybe got 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Now the person wants to leave. Now the person thinks, why should I create issues for me? In the exit interview, yeah, any feedback about the organization? Great place to work. Employees normally provide politically correct feedback. Most of the times, as we are aware, the reason for exit given is better opportunity. And better opportunity is also interpreted in many cases as higher salary. You know how? The employee goes for an interview, asks for 10% increase on the current salary, gets a job. Now, anyway, the resume is updated on the portal. Lot of people are calling. The candidate goes for another interview. Now asks for maybe 25% increase, because already there is a job offer for 10% on the current salary. Sorry. So if that organization is able to give 25% increase, the candidate, the employee thinks, looks like I should keep trying for more and more opportunities. Finally, may end up with the 3rd or 4th offer, where the salary offered is probably 50% more, 60% more when compared to the current salary. Now the employee comes back in the exit interview, says better opportunity, because this employee very clearly knows my current company cannot give me this kind of salary increase. So it is obviously difficult to work on this. In my view, exit interview is a post-mortem activity. What is important is to keep listening to the employee and keep addressing the issues, concerns on an ongoing basis. Instead, we allow the employees to decide to leave and then try to retain by conducting an exit interview. It's too late and it doesn't work. Another important thing we can try and do is It's good to speak to employees who left the organization 3 to 6 months before and get their feedback on areas to work on. The same person who told, I am leaving for better opportunity 3 months back, 6 months back, will now speak the truth. If you are able to speak to those people every 3 months or once in 6 months. While many organizations are focusing on conducting exit interviews, I think it will be very good to conduct stay interviews to identify why people are still working in this organization. It will be very interesting to find out some of the pull factors which will commonly emerge. Maybe a better environment or good training. It's a good place to work. People are treating me well. I can grow in this company. So you will come across 3-4 minimum pull factors which you will hear from the people who are currently staying in the company and would like to continue to stay if these factors are maintained. So once we know these factors, we can try and strengthen these factors so that it becomes commonly available for everyone. One second. Okay, now let's look at some very interesting thing. Why do people abscond? I have done a lot of study at the associate level. The general perception is that people at the associate level or at the entry level, they abscond quickly. So I was curious to understand what really happens. So based on my study, in majority of the cases, an absconding employee goes through the following thought processes in his or her mind. Okay. Having decided to leave the organization, the employee goes through the contact list from the company saved in his or her mobile. Now, let's take this case. The person has decided to leave. He or she is thinking, should I inform the recruiter who recruited me? Can this person address my concerns? And the employee thinks, maybe this recruiter cannot address my issues because the poor recruiter is busy recruiting the next batch. Now the employee is scrolling through the contact list, comes across the name of the trainer. So now person is thinking, should I inform the trainer who trained me for a few weeks or months? Can the trainer address my concerns? Again, it comes to a conclusion, no, because the trainer is busy training the next batch. Next person in the list is the BUHR person. The employee is thinking, can he or she help me? Answer is no. Unfortunately, in many organizations, I'm sad to say that an employee finds it difficult to approach the BUHR person because the BUHR is always busy. Sometimes, unfortunately, the BUHR person himself or herself shows a lot of attitude, arrogance, and ego instead of trying to solve the employee issues. Hence, many employees don't want to discuss their issues with an HR person. There are exceptions. There are some excellent people-sensitive BHR people. I'm just saying these kind of people also exist in many companies. Okay, now probably the last person in the list is, should I inform my reporting manager that I'm planning to leave? Now the employee comes to a quick conclusion, no, because in majority of the cases, the employee is leaving because of him or her only. Okay, now the employee is thinking, should I inform anybody from the above list? Is there anybody worthy to be informed? Maybe no, I am just a headcount in this company. Will the organization really care if I decide to leave? No. If they had been genuinely interested in me as an employee, by now, at least some of these stakeholders would have put some efforts to listen to me and address my issues. Nothing happened like that so far. Looks like I am not wanted in this place. Now, please listen to me. The employee comes to the conclusion, let me stop going there from tomorrow. There means to my organization from tomorrow. The final decision is made by the employee. Now, what happens? This employee doesn't come to office the next day. We, the HR folks, call this as absconding. It really pains me to say that some of us in HR spend a lot of time showcasing our statistical skills by analyzing how many people absconded, team by team, department by department, location by location, country by country, and presenting beautiful reports with a lot of charts and graphs to the management. Who knows? May even get a promotion for this. Who? Not the guy who is absconding, the VHR person or whoever is doing this job. Instead, I guess we should focus more on how to retain all our existing employees. Actually, if you look at the real scenario, it's a shameful thing for a team lead or a manager when a team member absconds. We should have this kind of a mindset, which means something the team leader, manager did not do right. It is time to do a self-introspection. What could I have done better to save their soul? How do I ensure it doesn't repeat again in my team? Well, there could be few other reasons also for employee absconding. Long notice period, 3 months asked to serve compulsorily, and there is no option to buy out, even if the employee is willing to buy out. In some other cases, though the 3 months buyout option is available, the employee feels the amount is too high and cannot afford to pay, or not worth paying a huge amount, for what? Just to get the relieving letter. Many of us who are present in this session may not abscond from our organizations. You know why? Not because we love our organizations. I'm sorry to say this. Let me repeat it again. Not because we love our organizations. We want the relieving letter, and when the background check happens, we don't want to face any issues. What a great selfish reason. Okay, who owns the people tree? Who's the owner of employee retention in an organization? In my view, it is the CEO who should own the employee retention. Unfortunately, in most of the organizations, the HR head owns or is forced to own the employee retention because this is convenient for the organization. The management thinks it is the responsibility of the HR function. Okay, so let's look at then who is responsible. Every single people manager, be it a team lead, manager, or a director, whoever has got anyone report to is responsible for employee retention. Let's take an example of an organization which has got about 10,000 employees across, let's say, 5 centers in India. Each center head is responsible for the retention of all employees who are reporting directly in the center. Could be head of the operations in the center, quality, HR, finance, etc. Each team lead or manager is responsible for the retention of all the team members who are reporting directly. I'll take the example of a corporate function. If the HR head of the 10,000 employee organization has about 100 employees across all the sub-functions in HR, across all centers in India, then this HR head is responsible for the retention of all sub-functional heads who are reporting to this person directly. So moral of the story is, it is a chain. Every people manager is responsible to retain the people reporting to them directly. By following this approach, the good part is the whole company gets retained. What is the role of HR function in employee retention? HR should work with the CEO and come out with an employee retention policy, process, and the framework. Train all people managers on the same. Ensure that every people manager follows the defined processes to retain their employees in the teams. We can come out with many schemes. It could be announcing team leader or manager with 100% employee retention in the form of a quarterly award, and share the best practices within the organization. Okay, let me explain this with a couple of case studies. Case study 1. I used to work in Hinduja Global Solutions as Vice President HR for India Operations from 2008 till 2012. We, out of several initiatives, one of the key initiatives was we ran an initiative called Team Leaders with Zero Attrition in a Quarter. Typically, a team lead has around 15 to 20 associates reporting to him or her. 3 months of the quarter, say Jan to March, if the lead can retain all employees, they are eligible for the following awards. A cash award of rupees 250 per person into number of people in the team. This amount can be used for a team lunch or a team outing. The team lead was presented with a certificate of appreciation. Most importantly, the team lead was asked to share the best practices followed by him or her, which resulted in retaining all the team members during the quarter. Now, the certificate and the cash award was presented by the CEO himself or the Executive Vice President Operations, so that people know that the top management team is very, very keen to retain the employees. A special rewards and recognition program was done for this category. Now, what is the outcome of this initiative? When we started this program, we hardly had only three teams which were eligible for this award across the whole country. Over a period of an year from the launch, we almost had 45 team leads being eligible for this award across the country. Let me share one more case study. Later, I worked in a company called Ascent Consulting Services. We came out with an employee retention framework which was adapted from the practices followed in Mindtree during the period 2006 to 2008. The employee retention framework goes like this. In spite of all the efforts we have put in, if an employee of Ascent submits his or her resignation, he or she will go through multiple levels of retention meetings, each meeting lasting at least for 30 to 45 minutes. First level meeting with the immediate supervisor, trying to understand the root cause of the trigger. That is the main focus of this meeting. If the team lead or the assistant manager is able to retain the multiple levels of meeting, it stops there. If the employee is still clear that I am going to leave, then the next meeting with the next level manager, third level with the department head, fourth level with the HR manager or HR head, and fifth level with the CEO. During 2006-2008 period, when in one of my earlier companies, we were trying to recruit from Mindtree. So most of the software engineers who had job offers from us, last minute they declined. When we started understanding, they explained about this kind of a 4-stage or 5-stage retention meetings happening in Mindtree. Fifth meeting was with none other than Mr. Subrato Bakshi himself, one of the promoters of Mindtree. So people used to tell Mr. Jessy, it is very, very difficult to even faced Mr. Subrato Bakshi because he's so kind. For us to go and meet him and try and say that, look, I'm planning to leave. And he will give a much bigger perspective of life. So maybe in the third stage, fourth stage itself, we give up. We decide to continue in Mindtree. So this was an amazing thing which I felt we can try in our companies. Now, coming back to what we did in Ascent. Objectives of this above meeting: to understand the root cause of the trigger and genuinely trying to address the same. These sessions are not intended to address the grade, designation, salary increase. No. At whichever level the employee gets retained, the retention meetings stop at that level. Otherwise, it will go all the way to the CEO. Okay, few success stories from what we did in Ascent. One example, a senior executive wanted to leave Ascent. Root cause of the trigger, he got an offer in Chennai. Wanted to relocate to Chennai because his brother worked in Chennai and his parents were also moving to Chennai. He was spoken to by his team leader for about 2 hours, multiple sessions, further spoken to by assistant manager for about half an hour, trying to retain the person, further spoken to by the general manager of the division for about an hour and a half. Solution worked out. A suitable role was created for this person in our Chennai center and he was transferred to Chennai. What was the outcome? He got retained within Ascent. Second case, a team leader wanted to leave Ascent. Root cause of the trigger, work pressure was high. Again, she was spoken to by multiple levels of people. Solution worked out, the team structure got changed, she got retained within Ascent. Third, another team leader wanted to leave Ascent. Root cause, wanted a different role. Again, several discussions happened. Solution worked out, moved to another role, and even this person got retained within Ascent. Okay, next is there anything called 100% employee retention? We have discussed a lot of things about different aspects and dynamics of retaining people. We have talked about exit interviews, we have talked about absconding, how to identify the early warning signals, etc., etc. Is it possible to retain every employee in an organization? It's very similar to expecting India to win every single cricket match they play. Can they win every single match? Obviously, the answer is no. But can they get into the ground with the mindset to win every single match? Answer is yes. This is what I am trying to propagate. The important thing is to ensure that every people manager approaches with the mindset to retain every single employee in the team with the right intent. So let's create employee retention champions internally and celebrate their achievements. Okay, so I'm done with the first part of my presentation. I'll quickly move on to the second part, then I will take the questions. What happens post COVID-19? Before we see some of the scenarios, in my view, employee retention remains the same. I don't think we should do something dramatically different just because of COVID. Tomorrow something else will come. Tomorrow if a recession comes, do we have to change our style of retaining people? Answer is no. I think it is very simple. We have to follow the basics, create more pull factors in our organizations, reduce the push factors, do stay interviews. I'll just give one more nice example before we quickly go into this. I had a colleague by name Mr. Appa Rao who worked with me in Philips. He was a BU HR manager for Philips Electronics division. Unfortunately, he is no more now. What he does is, in a week, every week he will meet 2 to 3 employees randomly without any agenda in mind and he will have casual chats with them. It could be a e-meeting, it could be over the lunch or any other break session, just to identify how things are happening. Is everything going fine? Do you have any issues? Do you have any challenges? Trust me, an employee will open up very easily when you are able to connect with the person at his level or her level. I think if we try and practice, that's why I said in the beginning, employee retention is an ongoing daily activity. You don't start to do employee retention all of a sudden. I am going to put phenomenal efforts. No, I think it's a mindset. It should be our way of working. Fine. Let's quickly look at some of the scenarios post COVID-19. You are the business owner or the CEO or HR head or HR manager of an organization. During the COVID-19 crisis, scenario number 1, you are a cash-rich company. You took care of your employees very well. You gave regular business updates to them. You paid them their full salaries. You paid the annual performance bonus and the incentives. You gave salary increments and promoted the deserving people as per the appraisal. You also monitored the health of the employees and their families during the crisis. What happens? Most likely, majority of your employees, if not all, will obviously want to continue to work for you, since you took good care of them in the unexpected adverse situation. Congratulations, continue with your excellent job. Your company will continue to grow and do well in business. Moral of the story, you took care of your employees, they will take care of your clients or the customers. Let's look at another scenario. Your financial situation was not good or not at all good. In spite of that, you still try your level best to take care of your employees. You explain to them about the cash situation in the organization. You maintain very transparent communication right through. You discussed with the leadership team and decided to have a salary cut for the leadership team. Why? With that amount, you managed to pay either full or at least 75 or 80% of the salary for the employees. Also, you monitored the health of the employees and their families. What happens in this case? In spite of having salary reduction, people understand clearly you also have cash situation which is not good. So even in this case, most likely majority of your employees will want to continue to work with you later once the situation improves, because you took good care of them. Now, what's the moral here? Actually, employees are looking at the real intentions of the employer. I think we cannot act. It's not an artificial way to retain. You cannot suddenly become very friendly with an employee that an employee can see through. So I think our style of approach with employees should change. Scenario 3. In case you are an organization, you had sufficient cash, you made good profit in the last financial year. April 19 till March 2020, you had a killing in the market. And who contributed? All your employees contributed. So, as a business owner or a CEO, good revenue happened, good profits you booked. Now, unfortunately, in spite of that, you still took advantage of the situation by reducing the salary of employees. You stopped the salary increments, didn't pay the incentives, didn't promote people, even you sent some or many employees on unpaid leave. What happens? No brainer. Most likely, majority of your employees, if not all, will want to leave you post COVID-19. I think I have come to the conclusion of my presentation. So I would like to quickly do a wrap up. In the first part, we looked at the different aspects of employee retention. Second part, I have talked about a few scenarios, what can happen post-COVID. Now, In case if you have any questions, I will obviously take some questions after this presentation is done. You can also feel free to reach out to me on my contacts. So I would like to wish you all the very best in retaining all your employees, whether it is COVID or no COVID. Let's change our approach. Let bring in a mindset that I am going to retain every single soul. Actually, I'll tell you another thing. You can retain just for selfish reason. If you're a business owner, why? You have trained a good amount of people. Your business is doing good. You don't need to spend time on directing, monitoring, etc. because you have got a handful of good people who you have trained. So just for selfish reason, you retain them because if they are doing good, you are also making more money as a business person. Simple, common sense. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I hope it was useful. I am open for questions now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jessy. I have a few questions. I will post it in the chat. You can address it from there.
Yes, Vinod.
I have put three questions. One is from Dr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, how to balance trimming workforce and retention in post-COVID. And then we also have a question from Dr. Prashant. What to do if people or institute offer less payoff after knowing our personal reasons to relocate?
Okay, so let me start with Dr. Jagan Mohan Reddy's question. How to balance trimming workforce and retention in post-COVID? I think here the most important thing is this is probably related to the second scenario which I explained. If the situation is very, very difficult, I think it's very important to communicate. What many people don't want to communicate is how many of the CEOs or the business owners are willing to openly speak to their employees about the last year's profit. I think if we are able to communicate openly, last financial year, April 19 till March 2020, this was the total revenue we made. In that, after all the expenses, this much profit we made, or it was loss. Now, if we don't communicate any of these things, suddenly if we decide only to reduce the workforce, that's where I think there is a trust issue coming in. In case if we are doing communication month after month, quarter after quarter, how we are doing, what is the revenue, how much are we spending, are we in a position to... Now, COVID in India is probably only from March onwards, right? In case if COVID has not come, you would have still planned to make salary revisions, promotions, etc., right? How will you do that? I don't think as a business owner, we're looking for the revenue which you are going to book only in the month of March. Okay, this is one part of the story. Second is, if the communication is very clear, month by month, quarter by quarter, even if it is a small company, unfortunately, I have seen many small-sized organizations, small in the sense, maybe in terms of headcount, less than 250 employees. Many times the owner of the company may not want to openly speak about all this, thinking that, okay, if I say that I made 2 crores profit last year, obviously the union will come forward and say, why don't we increase the salary for all of us? I think probably COVID has brought in a new way of managing the business. If you are transparent and if you are explaining to people properly, look, there is no cash available. We have only so much money. We have only so much cash left. I think if you are able to communicate, if you are able to involve people and take their opinion. Now, I have come across organizations, they have taken a decision to give up the office space. because currently in many companies, most of the employees or all the employees are working from home. Now, your fixed cost in terms of maintaining the office and office related expenses can run into several thousands or several lakhs or even several crores depending on the size of your organization. So that could be one area you may want to give up, maybe 1 or 2 centers. I'm just giving a suggestion. Now, if we are planning to do all this, are we involving our employees? Are we taking their opinions? I think if you are able to balance it, people do understand, okay, maybe another 2 months, 3 months, I may not have any job. Once situation improves, I will go back to my the same company because they're still updating me. So Dr. Jagan, I hope I have given some sense of my perspective on this.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So next is Dr. Prashant. What to do if people or institute offers less pay after knowing our personal reason to relocate? What to do if people or institute offers less pay, less offer? Okay, you're talking about the next employer. Is that right, Dr. Prashant? After knowing our personal reason to relocate. Can Dr. Prashant explain this? Hello? Okay, if Dr. Prashant is not coming on the line, I will assume that the question is, what to do if people or institute offers less pay offer, which is the next organization. See, it's a personal call. If I want, I will continue in my current organization with the current salary, with whatever situation. If I have to leave, then I have to decide whether I should take up a job offer where the salary is less. It is my personal call. I cannot blame another organization for someone who is willing to give me a reduced salary. That is their call, their business call. I cannot complain about that. It's a personal decision I have to do. If I am not happy with that offer, then I will continue in the current organization. I will wait for situation to improve and then look for a better opportunity. Okay, next is an outstanding grievance handling will help. Is it I think it's a suggestion, I suppose, from Dr. Jagannath Reddy. An outstanding grievance handling. I think, yeah, whether you call it as grievance handling or employee engagement, I think it's very, very important to listen to the employees and then decide what to do. Well, all this could be put as involve, inform, inspire so that they remain. Yes, I think it's part of the, probably is giving a suggestion.
Yes, Jessy.
Yes, Dr. Jagan. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Jessy, good evening. Ujjwal here.
Yes, Ujjwal, how are you?
I'm doing good, yeah, sir. So
Yeah.
I had a question. Often we face this situation where in top talent retention, after appraisals, people generally, quit and get a better offer, right? So companies, I've seen that, to match, they try to match that offer of the other organization. So is it a good practice, to retain, these employees, going beyond the salary band of that particular job?
Well, I think in my view, we need to understand how the situation has happened. See, there could be, actually nobody, if you look at the reasons for leaving, as per research, though salary is one of the key criteria, salary is not the number one criteria. Okay. Even in organizations where the salary is probably very low, if the team lead or the manager is genuinely interested in the overall development of the employee, even though the employee is getting a lot of calls from other companies, maybe for much higher salary, this person will think, I think this is a good place to continue. So why should I leave? I'll give an example. Ujjwal, okay, just for the benefit of audience, Ujjwal was part of my team in Hinduja Global. Okay, one of the key initiatives we did in HGS was we came out with the Teach HGS India initiative.
Correct.
Yeah, people who are good in helping others to learn English, maths, accountancy, commerce, these kind of subjects. A lot of employees who are at the associate level, they actually do correspondence courses, maybe at the graduation level or even at the PG level. If internally some of us can take the initiative to coach them on these subjects, which will help them to write the exams well, you can actually package it and say this is equivalent to around maybe 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 per month additional benefit. So I think it all depends on our intention to deal with employees. It's not about the salary. Now, Ujjal, coming to address your specific point, is it advisable to pay more salary to retain a person? Answer is no. Because if we can have a good emotional connect with each person and proactively trying to understand the personal and the organizational needs of the employee, just because some other offer has come, I'm sure all of us are getting offers all the time. It doesn't mean that every day we are leaving and joining another company. I have personally gone through situations when I worked in Philips. I worked in Philips for 5.5 years. I had a wonderful, one of the best managers I have ever worked with in my career, by name Mr. Mahalingam. He is called Mali. Couple of times I had excellent offers from outside. Whenever I wanted to leave, okay, Mali and I used to have marathon sessions of meetings. I will try to justify Mali why I should leave. Mali will try to justify why I should continue. Trust me, these sessions will go for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, very effortlessly, very casually. Finally, both of us will end up in a severe headache. So we will conclude that day's meeting by saying, he will say, you go home, take good rest, tomorrow you will be all right. We will continue to work together. Now, trust me, at least 2-3 occasions I wanted to leave. Because of his excellent efforts of employee retention, post 2.5 years of working in Philips in Bangalore, I had the privilege of working in Hong Kong as head of recruitment for Asia Pacific region for the entire Philips Electronics. Now, I would have lost this tremendous one-time, lifetime opportunity if I had taken a decision to leave, because after being in the company for 2.5 years, then this opportunity comes. So it's not about salary. I think salary, we all of us make over a period of time. So I don't personally advise any business owner or any head of a business or even an HR head to say somehow try and retain by giving 25% increase, 30% increase, because then this employee knows very well, I can use this again after 6 months or after 1 year. What will happen is there will be many other good employees who are performing very well. They will watch this very carefully. They will also start to use this technique. Then I think you will be spending time all the time trying to only retain your high performers by doling out more and more salary. Yeah, any other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Jessy.
Thanks. Yeah, hope it was useful.
Sir, one more question I had. You mentioned about the absconding reason. The HR should be getting a early signal that the person will abscond. Whereas at times we have seen that the employees, there is a saying that employees leave bosses, not the organization, right? So how the supervisor is responsible, because when we dig dive into the, when you do absconding callings, most of the cases we find that the supervisor connect was missing. The supervisor was very rude. So you mentioned that HR is responsible for such absconding cases. So how come the supervisor is not responsible for any absconding?
Yeah. So Ujjal, in one of my initial slides, I said the employee retention responsibility at the highest level lies with the CEO of the company or the business owner. The day we reach this level of understanding, our perspective of all these things will change. Currently, unfortunately, the poor HR function is blamed for not being able to retain the people. So, you said on the day of absconding, we are frantically making calls. So, on the absconding day, the employee suddenly becomes very important. Maybe if we have done the same thing probably a week before or 2 weeks before, at least to listen to this person, he would have continued to stay in the organization. So, secondly, currently calling back this abscondee cases is the responsibility of the HR function, which is again in my view, which is wrong. The team leader is responsible. See, it is applicable for me as well. If I have a team of 15 people, 20 people reporting to me, if one person absconds from my team, it's actually shame on me. Why should I blame somebody else? Which means I have not maintained the right rapport with that individual. I have not picked up the early warning signals coming from that employee. So the day we reach this level of understanding, I think HR will not have unnecessary pressure in most companies. Currently, HR is under tremendous pressure, especially the first week of every month. In some organizations, people collect their salaries and they don't turn up. Now, HR is blamed. Can HR do anything? Answer is no. HR will say, I am not aware. This person is reporting to you. But that person says, I am busy with my operations work. You would please sit and call. So, I don't think we can solve the issue by blaming each other. I think it is good to take the responsibility for each one of us. I have a team of 3 people, 5 people, 8 people under me. I am directly responsible for the retention of all those people, period. I should not blame others. The day we reach there, I think it is very easy to do proper analysis on attrition also. How? Instead of wasting time on a high level work, let's look at the pockets, the teams where the attrition is very high. So speak to the team lead. Maybe the team lead is not trained to deal with the challenges faced by the employees. So Ujjal, you talked about the fact that sometimes the team leads are rude. Now, why is the team lead rude? So we need to sit with the team lead and understand these issues first. We should slowly transform him to become a good people manager. Then the particular team's problem is solved permanently. I think if we get into that kind of an approach, look at pockets instead of blaming anyone, let's empathize with the employee, with the lead, the manager, with even a senior person. Sometimes senior colleagues are also rude. So I think it's if we are able to understand and operate at this level, this whole concept of absconding itself will vanish. Okay, any other questions?
Agree, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Do we have any other questions? Okay, if there are no questions, I can just do one quick concluding 2 minutes. Just talking about some of the other simple employee retention techniques. I gave 2-3 examples like team leads with 100% retention. How do we award them, etc. We can also start the Toastmasters Club at the organization level, which will help in developing the leadership and communication skills of employees. Sports and Games Club. See, some of the things we do currently for engaging with employees, if we can slowly change our approach to retaining employees, that will give a better result. It could be a CSR club. I talked about the teaching part. We can call it as a teaching club or training club. Also, another important thing, personally, I have spoken to the parents, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, in some of the cases in my career to retain an employee. So, in spite of all the efforts, some employees will tell, I have decided to leave. Finally, we have to understand who's taking the decision in this family of the employee. Is it the father? Is it the mother? Is it the husband? Is it the wife? If you are able to connect with the employee at that level, the employee may tell, okay, if you want, you speak to my father. My father has told me I should join this place. It can happen even at senior levels. In few cases, at a very senior level, I was able to retain by speaking to the wife of an employee. I apologized on behalf of the organization to the wife of this employee, because this wife said, look, last year also my husband's promotion was promised, but it was not given. And I was actually new to this organization. I had joined only 3 months before. So I was not aware of this promise made 1 year before. Still, I apologize to this wife of the employee by saying, I'm sorry. We will ensure that whatever has been promised based on the performance, it will be fulfilled. And the same senior person worked in the company for another 2 to 3 years. So I think, first of all, being in HR, we should have zero ego. We should be approachable. If HR is approachable, I'm sure we'll be in a better position to help others to also acquire these skills. Okay, any other questions? I see some comment from Sabarish. Okay, this comment is to Ujjal. The bug needs to stop at HR because HR can only influence the behavior of each level of employee in the organization. Yes, that's right. Any other questions? Yes, Vinod.
Yes, Dr. Jessy. Yeah, I think we do not have any other questions now, but Shabrish is okay. Thank you, Mr. Shabrish. This was for you, Dr. Jessy.
Okay, thank you.
Participants, thank you very much. This has been a wonderful session, Dr. Jessy. Thank you very much. And today, after multiple rundowns, we have had a good day in terms of bandwidth and the video and audio sessions. Thank you very much. Thank you, all the service providers. On a note, this was our first webinar, as I said, and would request the participants to just drop us a line on how it was as a feedback, and would also request you to suggest a few topics where we could take up in the next 10 days. Thank you again for spending this weekend with us, and look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you very much. Good night. My email ID here, I'm just dropping in a line. It's support@transcat.in, and you already have Dr. Jessy's email ID. Please drop in a line and we would come back to you on this. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Yeah.